guys, it's Kayla, and today I'm going to be doing my May wrap-up. Okay, so this month I read 5 comic trades, or I read 5 comics and 7 regular novels. So first read of the month is Harrow County Volume 7 by Tyler Crook and Cullen Bunn. Written by Cullen Bunn, illustrated by Tyler Crook. This is the newest trade of the comic series that's out. I still haven't read any of the new stuff. I think I'm just gonna wait until October to read the last volume and possibly reread them and then read the final book in October, and I'm so sad that it's ending. But anyways, 5 stars. Read that electronically as an e-comic, and I read it through my library. Next I read Afterlife with Archie by Aguirre-Sacasa and illustrated by Francesco Francavilla.
Francisco? Francisco, that's fun to say. Francisco.
This is the branch that kind of kickstarted like Archie horror, which I'm so into. This was so good. I gave it 4 stars, but I don't know why. I didn't give it 5 stars exactly, but the artwork is amazing. The storyline is great. Like it's kind of like the traditional Archie storyline where they're getting ready for like a prom or a dance or something like that. But we get Jughead is trying to bring back Hot Dog, his dog, back to life, and just things spiral out of control from there. And we do get little cameos from Sabrina and her aunts from Greendale, which I love. But yeah, this is really great. The first volume has like a full arc, and I don't think volume 2's out yet, but there are, I don't know why, because I think there's enough single issues out for there to be a second volume, but it just hasn't been made yet, I guess. I definitely plan on continuing on, and this like really solidified my love for like horror, the horror genre, but definitely horror comics. And so yeah, if you guys have any recommendations on any horror comics, please let me know, because that's like my bread and butter right now. Next, I read The Diviners by Libba Bray. I gave this 4 stars, and I read it as an audiobook in my library. Great audiobook, just like everyone says. I don't know why it's not a 5-star read for me. I love the atmosphere. I love the characters. I mean, I don't love Evie. She's kind of annoying, but I don't hate her. But I'm not usually a big fan of main characters for some reason, so that might just be me, I don't know. But this story is just about the setting's in 1920s New York, and there's this young chick that goes out to New York to live with her uncle, and she can read like the past by holding like certain objects. And she gets like dragged into solving like a murder mystery thing with her uncle and the local police department. And it is like a lot of people have mentioned like it does get kind of creepy and dark, and I was thinking, really? No, it doesn't. It really is. Like it's a lot more creepy and kind of horror-esque than I thought it would be, which is awesome. I loved all of that, especially like when it would have like kind of its own like there'd be a chapter about what's going on, and there'd be a chapter about like progressing like the darkness or whatever evil there is going on during that time. So that was really fun. Like I said, I don't know what it is. It's not a 5-star. I am invested in the story, and I am invested in the characters, but there's something missing, and I really don't know what it is that isn't making it a 5-star. I don't know if it's just because it's a longer book and it took me a longer time to read it because it was on audio. I didn't like ingest it fast enough, maybe. I don't know exactly, but I still really loved it. Just a little something missing. A great audiobook if you're looking for audiobooks, and the diviners is something that interests you. Next, I buddy read If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I buddy read this with Joana C. And I gave this one 4 stars, and I read it as an ebook through my library. Joana, I believe, gave it a 3 stars. I gave it 4 stars. It is very interesting. It's a really good thriller-esque mystery, kind of, like suspenseful, not thrilling. But if you like Shakespeare, or if you love Shakespeare, or you even care a little bit about Shakespeare, you would probably really enjoy this book, I think. Like, I don't care. But basically, it's this smaller art college, and there's, I think, 8 seniors in this program, like theater department, and something happens, and you just kind of go through the series of events. So yeah, just things happen, and I don't know, it was really interesting just because of how invested these characters are in Shakespeare. Like, Shakespeare is like their life. They speak to each other in Shakespeare quotes and the language and stuff like that. Anything their life has to do with, they can like relate it back to a character or a play or a line in the Shakespeare world. Just very devoted to it, which is kind of weird at first, but you just get kind of used to it. And then there's a lot of parallels from like the characters in real life to like the characters they play in the plays going on in the book. So that was interesting. I think it'd be really good for like a class discussion that is learning about Shakespeare. But I mean, it is a lot. And these kids are very, very, very pretentious. Like, this is the most pretentious book I've ever read in my entire life. These kids are very entitled. They really think highly of themselves. And just, like I said, the language, the way they talk, the way they present themselves is very just obnoxious. But you get used to it. And the mystery storyline is very interesting. The character dynamics, like the way they like treat each other, is very interesting. So yeah, it was good. Very good, kind of twisty. I mean, we definitely predicted what was going to happen very early on, but the final twist, hey, was very like, wait, what? Like, I had to do like a double take.
Minnie Mouse.
Minnie Mouse book. What happens in this book?
A T-Rex, Daisy, Goofy, Donald Duck, and Donald Duck.
A lot of Donald Ducks.
Mickey Mouse, and Daisy.
What are they doing?
Are having a picnic.
They're having a picnic.
A park.
They're at the park.
I want to see it.
I'm showing the camera.
Garden.
They're at the garden. The flower garden.
Water.
Are they playing in the water?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next book I read was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn and Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I gave this 5 stars. I listened to it on audiobook, and I got it from my library. Amazing audiobook. Amazing book. Like, oh my god, deserves the hype that is going around this book. So the audiobook, you feel like you're just sitting down and listening to, like, you're the one interviewing Evelyn Hugo, and she's just telling you her life story, and then you get like the little snippets of the person actually interviewing Evelyn Hugo and how their lives intertwine. But it was so good. Like, it's something that hooks you in from the very beginning. Like, I listened to, I think, like the first chapter, and I was just like instantly hooked. I wanted to listen to it like at home, because normally, like, that's a really good sign of an audiobook. A really good audiobook is that, like, I normally listen to my audiobooks in the car and at work, depending on what I'm doing. But when I want to like continue listening into it at home, just like while I'm doing the dishes, or just that's how you know it's really good. So it was a good audiobook, plus it's a really good book. It might not sound like it's gonna be a really good book, but if you enjoy like women's lit, I think you would like it. Even if you don't, I don't know, maybe give it a try. I thought it was just so amazing. I really want to own this book. Yeah, definitely top book of the year for sure. Next I read I Hate Fairyland, book 1 by Scottie Young, like written and illustrated by Scottie Young. So this is the book 1. So this contains volumes 1 and 2, which is issues 1 through 10. Oh, this is so good. So I have volume 3 here. So like the artwork is very, very, very bright, very colorful, and you think it's gonna be like there's this little girl that goes wants to go to Fairyland. She gets sucked into a Fairyland, decides she doesn't want to be in said Fairyland anymore, but is designated with a task to find the key through adventures, and then she can go home. And it's like almost 30 years later, and she's still there, but she's like a 30-year-old trapped in or she's like a 30-something-year-old woman trapped in like a 12-year-old's body or something like that. And she's just pissed off, and so she's just kind of killing everyone in sight, doing her own thing, just looking throughout this entire land for this key instead of just like following the riddles because she can't figure them out. Like, it is so hilarious. The dialogue is so funny. It has a little bit of a Good Place or The Good Place vibe, because like she's in this like cute fairyland, and so she can't like curse. So her curses are like different, like fuck is fluff, and like her curse words are just like these sweet little like terms. It's so funny. I really like also the what's it called, like the lettering in like the text enunciation. There's like bolded words, and it's larger, and it's like a different font. I really appreciate that. Like this seriously is just a flawless comic. It is so good. It is so funny. It's dark, but it's still cute, and the darkness is still kind of appropriate because, like I said, there's no actual curse words, but there's a lot of killing and blood, but they're cute little fairy things dying and stuff. So I don't know. It is so good. The storyline is so good, and it's not just the same thing over and over again. It does go into different arcs. So I really highly recommend, if you like comics, even if you don't and you want to try some comics, I really recommend these. These are just so good. Like, I would love to own these as well. 5-star. It's just so funny. Like, Gertrude is funny, and then she has a little sidekick. Is he even on here? Larry, this little like fly guy. And he's just like this crusty old thing that like smokes cigars, and he's just like over it too, because he's like stuck with her until she finds her key. It's just so funny. Next I read Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I gave this one 4 stars. I listened to it and I read some parts of it like towards the end on ebook, both through my library. And I read this as part of the Red Rising read-along hosted by Leanne's Library and Lauren from the Novel Lush. I've been wanting to read Red Rising for a while, and I saw that they were doing this read-along. Initially the plan was to read 1 book a month leading up to the release of the newest book. I don't know what it's called. That was supposed to release in September, and then it got pushed, but we're still kind of moving forward. This was so good. Like, the more I talk about this book, the more I enjoy it. So I think for like enjoyment, it was like a 5-star. But I gave it a 4-star just because, I guess, kind of like getting into it. Like, you're literally, like, from the beginning, you're just kind of thrown in, which certain books do, especially when it's like fantastical or like dystopian, where things are very different to the world that we know, and you're not kind of eased into it. You're just thrown into it. So you get these terms, you get you know, all these different caste systems, like just terminology and just way of talking is so different. So it just kind of takes a little bit to get used to everything. But once you do, like, it's so great. And I honestly, I did not know what the story's about. I knew it was probably like about some kind of uprising, and essentially it is, you know, the uprising of, I guess, the Reds is the bottom of the caste systems. And that is essentially, I think, what the trilogy is about. But the first book, you know, you're just kind of getting used to the world. Like, they're in this, like, academy, and so you get kind of this school and team storyline going on, which I love. It definitely has vibes of, like, Hunger Games, and it gives me vibes of, like, Percy Jackson, because there's, like, the different teams are different Roman gods. But it's very, very dark, and not dark, but it is very, like, bloody. A lot of people, like, there's a lot of deaths, there's a lot of action, a lot of battling. It's just really, really good. It's a really good book. I'm very interested to see how the rest of the story goes, just because, you know, this first book is, you know, mainly takes place in this academy. So I'm not sure quite what we're gonna go from there, but I'm invested. Like, I'm really into it. Like I said, the more I talk about it, the more I enjoy it, the more I'm, like, falling into the fandom. And it's just book 1. So next I read Lady Killer Volume 1. So written and illustrated by Joëlle Jones, and also co-written by Jaime S. Rich. I gave this 3 stars. I read it as an e-comic through my library. So this was pitched to me as a lady serial killer, and, like, the openings even says that, of her own comic, but she's not. Like, it's about, like, a female, like, assassin, like a hitman, and it's about that. And there's no really good story arc, or like there's no actual, like, plot until the final volume, or the final issue. So I will pick up the next volume to see, you know, how it goes from there. But it wasn't what I was expecting. So just know that it is very bloody, very gory, very interesting to see this, like, 50s housewife, you know, by day, and, you know, bloody assassin by night, or, like, part of the day, you know, behind her husband and her family's back. So that's very interesting. I love all that. The artwork is very beautiful, but yeah, it just wasn't what I was expecting, and not a whole lot happened besides just her killing a bunch of people. Okay, next I read Sour Apple. This is written by Jerzy, Szytak, and illustrated by Joana Karpowicz. I gave this one 3 stars, and I read it as an e-comic, and I got it off of NetGalley. It's one of those read now comics on NetGalley. So this is one of those hard reads. It's about a married couple, and the husband is very, very, very abusive, mentally and physically, and the woman is trying to be a very good Christian and devoted wife to said husband, despite the fact that he is constantly abusing her. So not only do we get the storyline, you get the visuals, and it's very, very, very graphic. Very graphic. So that's why, I mean, it's so hard to rate stories like that. I think it is a very important story to tell. Like the author had said, there is a good little, like, kind of twist in the middle, but the ending is just so unsatisfying. So the artwork it kind of looks like a painting. Like, even the paper has, like, the scratch marks like a canvas would, and it kind of just looks like an artistic painting you'd see in an art museum. But yeah, like, but it's something that like lingers. Like the story is very impactful, and has stuck with me for the past like 2 weeks. Okay, and then I read He Said, She Said by Erin Kelly. I gave this 4 stars and listened to it on audiobook through my library. I read this whole thing in one day. This is the only book I actually finished for SCALLYWAGATHON. Although I did start and finish a good chunk of other books, this is the only one I finished. I listened to it like almost on 2 speed, and I cranked this out. I really enjoyed it. I read this for the Deadly Divas book club, and I think I was the only person who liked it. Like everyone hated it, I don't know, like thrillers, you can go, like you never know how thrillers are going to go. Okay, it's about this couple that they are very into total eclipse. I can't remember if it's lunar or solar eclipses. Anyways, they like travel the world and see whatever eclipse is going on that year or every other year. So that's just something that they do. They're hiding their identity for mysterious reason. And they were also, before they went into hiding, they were involved in this rape case. They were involved as like witnesses in a like highly publicized rape case that went on. So that's like the gist of the story. It's one of those you don't know what to believe, or you don't know quite what's going on. It's set in different times. Is it? Okay, so it goes from like, the perspectives go from like husband and wife, and it also jumps time. So it goes from like 2017, and then it goes 2 years prior. So I think there's like a 2-year gap, I think. I think that's all it is. Anyways, there's some kind of like time jump and perspective jump, which I love. That seems to be very popular in mystery thrillers nowadays. The next book I read was Lair Dreams by Libba Bray. This is book 2 of the Diviner series. I gave this one 4 stars, and I also listened to this one on audiobook from my library. Just like the first one, really great audiobook. Still something missing for it to be a 5-star. I'm not sure. I like this one more than the first book. This one focuses a lot more on the side characters than Evie, which is why I like it more, because like I said, I do not love Evie as a character. But I don't know, like it's just something isn't making it super engrossing, and I don't know, but I still like it. I still really love what's going on. I don't know, it's really conflicting, but really enjoyed it. Still a great audiobook. I kind of got a weird vibe in the very beginning. It kind of sounded like the voice actor was different. It kind of sounded like the characters were just a little bit different. So I don't know if that was just me, or maybe the voice actress wasn't in her groove yet. I'm not sure, but still, it didn't take away from the experience. It was still a great audiobook. Okay, the last book I read this month was History Is All You Left Me by Silvera. I read this for the Read Your Face Off book club. I gave it 4 stars, and I read it as an ebook through my library. So this is my first Silvera book. I don't normally enjoy YA contemporaries, but I really enjoy this one. So this is about this young boy who is mourning over the loss of his ex-boyfriend, who had just moved away the year before. So this poor kid has to deal with breaking up with his boyfriend moving away, and then said boyfriend or ex-boyfriend passing away while he was living in another state. And not only like was he his ex-boyfriend, he was like his best friend. So like they were best friends. They were still very connected, even though they weren't involved anymore. And I liked how this book was set up. It was set up where one chapter was like the present, and the next chapter was like the history. So it was 2 or 3 years ago, kind of building up to when this character had passed away. And it's about just their relationship when they were when they were friends, and then like when they were together, and you know, what happened when they broke up, and gets a new boyfriend, and so we get to know the current boyfriend, and it was really good. It was also like jumping from like past to present. It was like happy and sad. So like the past was really happy and funny and lighthearted, and then the present is very dark and sad because he had passed away. Also, the main character deals with very severe OCD, and that is also kind of like, I think it was very well done. Like it felt, you felt like almost how the character would feel, just the way it was written. The style of the writing really kind of reminds me of Becky Albertalli, which I'm really excited that they're doing a book together. It felt very authentic. The characters were actually really funny and interesting, and they actually had good like family dynamics. Like the parents were funny and interesting. They weren't just kind of, oh, I have parents, but nothing, you know, there's no repercussions. Like they're not involved in my life at all, like you see in other books, which I appreciate since I am a mother, and it was fun to kind of hear about them a little bit. But yeah, it was really good. Everyone kind of says like this is probably like their least favorite Adam Silvera book, at least from like the book club when we're talking about it. So I'm definitely interested in reading some of his other books. Okay, so those are all the 12 books I read in the month of May. I hate doing these videos.
You gotta make sure you clap your hands more.
Felt very good about the books I read. Only 2-3 stars. And they were both comics.
How do you give a comic a 3-star?
Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll have social media stuff down below if you want to be my friend, other places. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
Will you see them, or you will see me in my next video?
I will see them because I can see them watching my videos right now.
Can't.